DESIblitz.com.
Hi, I'm Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, and you're watching me on DESIblitz.com.
Sharmeen, how does it feel to be the first Pakistani woman to receive an Oscar, and that too double?
You know, I have always believed that if you work hard, you get the right stories, and you find the right subjects to articulate those stories, that films will find audiences and will win accolades. It feels very good to have won 2 Academy Awards because, you know, I have never studied film. Everything I've learned has been on the field. But I have to say that film is a collaborative effort, and I wouldn't have been able to get up on that stage twice if I didn't have a kick-ass team. And my cinematographers, my associate producers, my editors, they've always played a big role in the film.
Thank God I have 2 of them now. This is what happens when determined women get together.
How did you get started in films and documentaries, and what are your aspirations having already achieved so much?
Well, I was a print journalist from a very young age. I started writing for newspapers when I was about 14 years old. I went off to college from Pakistan and 9/11 happened, and I wanted to move from print into something visual, but like a good Desi girl, I was studying economics and political science, and I never studied film. So everything I learned was pretty much from the internet and from mentors, and I just decided one day that I wanted to be a documentary filmmaker. That was in 2001, and 16 years later, here I am today. And I've always believed that one should never take no for an answer. And, you know, in my early days, I applied for a lot of grants. I was rejected. But I felt that, you know, if I was a good storyteller, that eventually one day I'd get there.
Going from documentaries to Teen Bahadur, what inspired you to produce this animated adventure film?
You know, when I was growing up in Pakistan and I would put on the television, it was a time when we only had one television channel, but there was original programming for children. So I grew up looking at puppets and musical shows that were dedicated to children. But I found that the children of today, even though we have 42 television channels in the country now, don't have original programming for them. Everything that we have comes from other parts of the East or from the West. And I wanted to create young heroes for children. I wanted to create characters that they could relate to. And essentially the medium, documentary filmmaking, animation or fiction films is different. But, you know, I'm a storyteller first and foremost. And so, you know, once I decided I wanted to tell a story, then it was about assembling the right team and getting it out there. And we struggled, you know. Animation, unlike documentary filmmaking, is very expensive, and it takes a long time to do it, and it's very equipment heavy. But we were successful. The film became the highest grossing animated feature film to play in Pakistan. It beat Rio 2 and Frozen, particularly excited about that in Pakistan. And so it encouraged us to move forward and work on part 2.
Can you define documentary film? How is it different to conventional filmmaking?
Well, documentary filmmaking is essentially long form news or investigation, or looking at an issue from different perspectives that involve people who are going through it. There are no actors. This is reality. This is what people are going through. The kind of films that I make are issue-driven, but they're also character-driven, and they're about people who are living through those circumstances. For me, a documentary film is a slice of reality for people.
Whenever you initiate a new subject, what do you think about, and what drives you creatively forward?
Well, I choose my subjects based on my barometer of anger. I'm always thinking about, well, this is an issue that I want to pick up because it makes me angry and I want to start a difficult conversation around it. It stems from when I was a child, and my mother used to always say that I had a lot of pent-up anger and I should be constructive about it. So I think that barometer of anger has stayed with me. To me, the most important thing is who is telling that story. Because you can have a brilliant kind of subject, but if your storyteller is not articulate, if your storyteller is not able to literally reach out from across the screen and touch the audience, then that's not the person that you should be filming. I try and find people who will make people cry, who will move people, who will evoke emotions in people, and I think that those are the best stories that are told.
On set, while shooting, are you very passionate or calm, or can we see all that anger even there?
Documentary filmmaking requires a lot of patience because things happen very slowly in real time, and they happen very quickly on screen. And sometimes we film over 2 or 3 years, and it's just a 40-minute film. And so for an audience, it seems like it's happening all at once. But really, when you're going through it, there are days that you spend sitting outside courtrooms waiting for verdicts that don't come for 6 months, or you're following a subject that has nothing going on in their life for a few months. So it's a test of the will. And actually, the way I make films is that my team and I, we take turns going out in the field, depending on the situation, depending on the day, depending on what's happening, and I think that each one of us brings a different perspective and has a different relationship with our subject that really allows us to show different facets of a subject. Oftentimes I'm very angry on set, but I think most often I'm hoping that the story, comes together, because unlike a fiction film, you can't predict what the end of your story is going to be. You can hope that the end of the story is going to be something that you had thought of. But for example, in A Girl in the River, I thought that Sabah, the main protagonist of the film, was going to fight the case, and my team and I willed secretly in our hearts that she would fight the case, and the day that she decided not to fight the case, we didn't know what type of a film we would have. But in the end, I think that what we captured is the true reality of what a woman has to go through living in a society that makes its decisions for her. Saving Face and A Girl in the River touch upon a very sensitive nerve in the country. One film deals with acid violence, the other deals with honor killings. These are difficult issues. These are the type of issues a lot of people don't want us talking about. There are also issues that mainstream media was not touching until the films came out. You would be hard pressed to find anything on acid violence in Pakistan really on mainstream media, except from the inside of a newspaper, until Saving Face came out, and then there was a national discourse about it. As a filmmaker, we only hope that there are discussions centered around the films and the topics that we touch. There was, of course, a huge negative backlash as well, with people saying that these type of issues should not be talked about, that why are we highlighting these kind of issues? And my answer to that is that unless we talk about our issues, how are we as a nation going to find the solutions for those issues? It's not like if I don't talk about them that tomorrow they're going to go away. But the most important thing is that when you do talk about these issues, that society then reflects upon them and finds solutions for them. If nothing else, society highlights those issues, and with highlighting those issues, you begin a sort of a self-awareness campaign. For example, there were many women who didn't know acid violence was actually a crime. By watching it on the news, by having people debate about it, by having people talk about it, women learned that this is a crime. I can go to court, I can press charges about it. So, it's a long, drawn-out affair. But I think that as a country, Pakistan, being a functioning democracy, shows its true colors and its vibrancy if we debate and talk about these issues.
मैं सो रही थी तो अम्मी के घर में आया इस तरह तो उसने मुझे जला दिया
जितना मुझे जलाया मेरी जिंदगी खत्म हो गई इस कमरे में
So when I heard about the acid violence in my homeland, I said, I must do something.
How would you project Pakistan, the positive elements of Pakistan, through your work?
So I have a film in the festival right now called Song of Lahore. It's a joyous film about a group of musicians from Pakistan's cultural city Lahore and how they find their calling and adapt Pakistani traditional instruments with jazz and become internet sensations. It's a beautiful story of triumph. It shows a very different vignette of Pakistan. And this film has been playing around the world, and audiences have loved it and fallen in love with the characters.
The classical music of Pakistan, and now they're going to come out here and show you what they do with jazz.
How supportive have your family been during your career, even when you were young and started filmmaking?
Well, I think for every young girl, it's very important to have supportive male figures who play a role in kind of grooming them. From a very young age, my father was very supportive of me and my work, and then over the years, my entire family has been supportive, including my husband. And I think that support is critical for any woman that wants to get into a field that is a non-traditional field. I don't have a 9-to-5 job. I have to go into some very difficult places. I used to work in countries like East Timor and Afghanistan and be on the front lines and in the thick of things. And without the family support, I don't think that I would have had the encouragement to be where I am today.
You've got 5 seconds for each answer. Ready? If you had one superpower, what would it be?
Compassion.
Subject you hated most at school?
Math.
The most important number on your phone?
My mom's.
Favorite desi khana and libas?
Desi khana and libas, nihari and tang pajama.
Ooh. If you were to write a book about yourself, what would you name it?
Reaching the stars.
Wow. Finally, to wrap things up, what's next for you? Are we ever going to see you producing a full Pakistani feature film, possibly with the likes of Fawad Khan?
If I was to make a fiction film, it would be a romantic comedy. So I think I'm going to stay away from that for a while. I think I'm going to work a lot more in animation, and you're going to see some multimedia projects from me in the near future.
Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, it's been a pleasure talking to you. All the best for the future.
Thank you.